Good evening, live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh, coming up in the next 30 minutes. India-Afghanistan reset ties as External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar holds talks with Afghan counterpart Amir Khan Muttaqi in New Delhi. India reiterates commitment to Afghanistan's sovereignty. Israel publishes list of 250 Palestinian prisoners expected to be released in exchange for hostages held in Gaza as part of ceasefire deal with Hamas. Venezuela's opposition leader and democracy activist Maria Corina Machado wins Nobel Peace Prize 2025. Afghanistan Foreign Minister Amir Khan Muttaqi met India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar at Hyderabad House in New Delhi. External Affairs Minister warmly welcomed Muttaqi and announced that India's technical mission in Kabul would be upgraded to the status of an Indian embassy. He emphasized India's strong commitment to Afghanistan's sovereignty, territorial integrity and independence.
India is fully committed to the sovereignty, territorial integrity and independence of Afghanistan. Closer cooperation between us contributes to your national development as well as regional stability and resilience. To enhance that, I am pleased to announce today the upgrading of India's technical mission in Kabul to the status of Embassy of India.
Foreign Minister of Afghanistan stated that India and Afghanistan should increase their mutual contact and exchange.
I am happy today that I'm here in Delhi, and this visit will increase or strengthen the understanding between both countries and open a new chapter between these relations. We hope that Afghanistan and India, on an official level and in different areas, increase their engagements and exchanges. We hope that through talks and dialogue we can increase the level of understanding between us. We always sought good relations with India. We will not allow any group to threaten anyone else or use the territory of Afghanistan against others.
India also handed over 5 ambulances to Afghanistan, with Minister Jaishankar noting that this forms part of a broader donation of 20 ambulances and additional medical equipment, demonstrating India's continued commitment to supporting the Afghan people. In other news, India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh on Friday addressed the members of Indian community in Sydney, Australia. Speaking at the event, the minister said India is now the 4th largest economy and the fastest growing economy in the world.
पिछले 12 वर्षों में इंटरनेशनल कम्युनिटी में भारत का कद ऊंचा हुआ है। भारत के प्रति पूरे विश्व में एक सम्मान का भाव बढ़ा है। इसे सहज रूप से सारे लोग स्वीकार करते हैं। उनमें फास्टेस्ट ग्रोइंग इकोनॉमी यदि कोई है मेजर इकोनॉमीज में, तो हमारी आज भारत है। यह हमारा एक मेजर अचीवमेंट है, मैं मानता हूं। मैं एक आंकड़े को देख रहा था कि रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया के अनुसार 25-26 में भारत की रियल जीडीपी ग्रोथ अप्रॉक्सीमेटली 6.5% तक पहुंच गई है।
Rajnath Singh held a bilateral meeting and also co-chaired Defence Industry Roundtable with Australia's Assistant Minister of Defence Peter Khalil. The meeting was held under a banner of Comprehensive Strategic Partnership established in the year 2020, highlighting the pivotal juncture where two sides are making efforts to reposition defence relations not merely as partners but as co-creators of a secure and prosperous Indo-Pacific.
Our defence industrial partnership based on joint research and development, innovation, co-creation, and co-production still has an untapped potential. It is in this context that I see this forum as an important instrument to make India and Australia natural allies in business and industry too. Friends, as I see it, this potential nature alliance has compelling economic reasons to be successful and mutually beneficial. Australia excels in niche technologies, quantum systems, autonomous underwater vehicles, and advanced maritime surveillance. India, on the other hand, offers vast manufacturing scale and economies, software prowess, and indigenous capabilities in sectors such as shipbuilding, missile technology, and space.
Moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will launch PM Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana and Mission for Self-Reliance in Pulses on Saturday in New Delhi. Agriculture and Farmers Welfare Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan said that to connect farmers directly with Prime Minister, state level and district level programs would be organized.
दूरदर्शन के माध्यम से मैं आपसे अपील करना चाहता हूं, ये दो महत्वपूर्ण मिशन आत्मनिर्भरता के लिए दलहन मिशन और प्रधानमंत्री धन धान्य कृषि योजना 11 अक्टूबर को 10:30 बजे प्रधानमंत्री जी लॉन्च करेंगे और प्रधानमंत्री से किसानों को सीधा जोड़ने के लिए हमने तय किया है कि हर राज्य में एक राज्य स्तर का कार्यक्रम होगा, जिले में जिले स्तर पर कार्यक्रम होगा, ब्लॉक में कार्यक्रम होगा और हमारी कोशिश यह है कि पंचायत में भी किसान भाई बैठ के प्रधानमंत्री जी के उद्बोधन को सुने, उस समय उनसे प्रेरणा प्राप्त करें.
The third day of the India Mobile Congress 2025 is underway at Yashobhoomi, New Delhi. The Secretary of Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, S. Krishnan, participated in the event. In his address at the India AI session, he urged embracing AI rather than fearing it, emphasizing its role in achieving Viksit Bharat or developed India by 2047 through inclusive application-driven models.
With the least amount of resources, we are able to ensure availability of AI compute. The focus has been on people who will ultimately consume or who will need the AI compute for various purposes. Focus clearly on that, and in order to get more people included into that availability framework and accessibility framework, that is what has actually driven the way that the AI compute effort in India and under the India AI mission has been designed. And that is what a number of international agencies have also found very appealing as a model which can be used for the rest of the global south.
Union Minister of State for Communications and Rural Development, Dr. Pemasani Chandrasekhar, felicitated companies in various categories at Indian Mobile Congress Awards 2025. The awards were given in categories including Best MSME in Telecom Ecosystem, Best Made in India Telecom Innovation, Biggest Telecom Technology Exporter of the Year, and more. Addressing the event, the ministry emphasized the importance of entrepreneurship and startups in nation's growth. He highlighted the significance of experienced industry giants, calling them the architects of Atmanirbhar Bharat.
And for all the experienced companies, you are the architects of our Atmanirbhar Bharat. You employ millions, you pay billions to the taxes to the Indian government. So we deeply appreciate your contribution.
The sea phase of exercise Konkan 25 concluded on October 8th after a series of high-intensity naval operations showcasing strong interoperability and maritime cooperation between the participating navies. The exercise featured carrier-based fighter jets, AEW helicopters, maritime reconnaissance aircraft, carried out beyond visual range air combat and integrated air defense drills, showcasing reach and readiness of naval air assets. The exercise also featured surface gunnery, underway replenishment and coordinated anti-submarine warfare operations, displaying tactical synergy and professional excellence. The phase ended with ceremonial steam pass before ships moved to the harbour phase for joint exchanges and cultural activities. Konkan 25 continues to strengthen maritime ties and regional stability. Indian parliamentary delegation led by Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla visited the House of Assembly of Barbados, marking a significant step in strengthening inter-parliamentary cooperation. During his visit, Birla interacted with Indian diaspora in Barbados, praising their contributions and cultural preservation. He emphasized the importance of teaching Indian languages and values to future generations and extended Diwali greetings to the community. In bilateral meetings, the Minister met with parliamentary leaders from Zambia, Australia and Jamaica. Discussions focused on enhancing legislative collaboration, sharing best practices and leveraging technology and AI for citizen-centric governance. Pakistan is facing growing unrest as Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan ramps up protest against the army and the government. In Lahore, clashes turned violent with reports of police firing, shelling and acid use, leaving many injured. Though authorities tried to contain the TLP workers, tensions remain high. For now, internet services remain suspended in Islamabad and Rawalpindi to curb the chaos. The US on Friday denied any delivery of advanced medium-range air-to-air missiles to Pakistan, contrary to what was reported by multiple media outlets on Tuesday. In a statement, US Embassy in India said the new contract with Pakistan is meant for certain sustainment items and does not include any new deliveries of the said missiles, debunking media reports as false. The statement reads, on September 30th, 2025, the Department of War released a list of standard contract announcements which referred to an amendment to an existing foreign military sales contract for sustained and spares for several countries, including Pakistan. The administration would like to emphasize that contrary to false media reports, no part of this reference contract modification is for deliveries of new advanced medium-range air-to-air missiles to Pakistan. The US Embassy statement appears to directly counter these claims, stressing that the contract is purely intended to support existing systems rather than enhancing them. The clarification underscores Washington's awareness of perceptions that it could be influencing regional military balances. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Trump administration has proposed banning Chinese airlines from flying over Russian airspace on US routes. French President Macron searches for the next Prime Minister. And Sri Lanka's government announces cabinet reshuffle, appointing new ministers to key portfolios.
So now you can't talk about British imperialism in India without talking about the East India Company.
Britain is just dotted with the visible representations of loot from India. The one thing you folks have never done is just say sorry.
Are you ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh. The Norwegian Nobel Committee on Friday announced the Nobel Peace Prize 2025 has been awarded to Maria Corina Machado. The committee decided to award Machado for her tireless work promoting democratic rights for the people of Venezuela and for her struggle to achieve a just and peaceful transition from dictatorship to democracy. The Nobel Peace Prize is one of the 5 awards established by the will of Alfred Nobel, the Swedish inventor of dynamite. It is given annually to individuals or organizations that have made outstanding contributions to peace efforts. The prize comprises a diploma, a gold medal and a check of $1.2 million. Israel's Justice Ministry published on Friday a list of 250 prisoners expected to be released in exchange for hostages still held in Gaza as part of a ceasefire deal with Hamas. The list does not include the names of several senior Palestinian militant leaders seen as symbols of resistance and whose release Hamas has demanded. Earlier on Friday morning, Israel's government ratified a ceasefire agreement with Hamas, clearing the way for the release of Israeli hostages in exchange for Palestinian prisoners and the start of a phased withdrawal of Israeli troops from Gaza. The agreement is just the first phase of US President Trump's 20-point peace plan, and there's still a number of sticking points to be worked out. US judge temporarily halts Trump's deployment of hundreds of National Guard troops in Chicago and other states 5 days after another US judge blocked a similar deployment in Portland, Oregon. Trump's administration argued the troops are necessary to protect immigration agents and facilitates in America's third largest city, falsely depicting it as a war zone. But local Democratic officials have said police and other law enforcement are perfectly sufficient, arguing that Trump is purposefully provoking protest with its heavy-handed operations. Putting an obligation on the move, the district judge, April Perry, said permitting Guard troops in the state would only add fuel to fire. After hearing more than 2 hours of arguments from lawyers from the US government and the state of Illinois while suing the Trump administration over the deployment.
Judge Perry did a very careful job of weighing the evidence, weighing the credibility of the evidence and those declarations that served as the testimony to be considered as to whether or not the President of the United States could and should federalize and deploy the National Guard into our great city and our great state. And I think after doing so, she made the correct decision to enter a temporary restraining order.
The Trump administration has proposed banning Chinese airlines from flying over Russian airspace on US routes, calling the current arrangement unfair to American carriers barred from Russian skies since 2022. The move follows Beijing's decision to tighten export controls on rare earth materials vital to American industries, further heightening the trade tensions between the two nations. US airlines argued that Chinese carriers gain a cost advantage by flying shorter routes over Russia, while American airlines must take longer, more expensive paths. The proposed ban would apply to passenger flights by Air China, China Eastern, China Southern and Xiamen Airlines, though cargo services would be exempt. Notably, shares of Chinese airlines dipped after the announcement as both countries brace for potential fallout ahead of a possible Trump-Xi meeting later this month. Beijing criticized the proposal, saying it hurts people-to-people exchanges.
I suggest consulting the relevant Chinese authorities for specific inquiries. The United States imposing restrictions on Chinese airlines' operations is not conducive to fostering people-to-people exchanges between the two countries. We suggest that the US instead reflect on the impact of its own policies on its domestic enterprises, rather than unjustifiably suppressing other nations and making global consumers foot the bill.
The US also imposed sanctions on about 100 individuals, entities, vessels, including a Chinese independent refinery and terminal that helped Iran's oil and petrochemicals trade. The United States believes Iran's oil networks helped Iran fund its nuclear and missile programs and support militant proxies throughout the Middle East. Iran says its nuclear program is for peaceful purposes. US Treasury said it was the 4th round of sanctions in which the administration targeted China-based refineries that continue to purchase Iranian oil. French President Emmanuel Macron has invited the heads of most of France's political parties, excluding the far right and the hard left, for a meeting at the Elysee on Friday afternoon as he searches for his sixth prime minister in under 2 years. Macron's office had said late on Wednesday he would appoint a new prime minister within 48 hours after outgoing Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu held 2 days of talks to seek a way out of France's worst political crisis in decades. Moving on, the German economy is now forecast to grow slightly better than initially predicted earlier this year, according to the Economy Ministry's latest autumn outlook. Joining us with more is DW correspondent Chiponda Chimbelu in Berlin. Chiponda, what are the key figures as far as the economy is concerned?
Thanks for having me. Well, the German economy is expected to grow by 0.2% this year. So that is, of course, better than the stagnation that was expected. And the pace of growth will quicken next year. GDP is expected to expand by 1.3% in 2026, which is 0.3% higher than was forecast in the spring. Now, while that, of course, is a rare gem of good news on the German economy, Economy Minister Katharina Reiche did also point out that this positive outlook should not obscure the fact that a big chunk of the growth is actually coming from high government spending. Now, Reiche says reform is needed in Europe's biggest economy for it to achieve long-term growth. Now, the economy minister would like to see lower energy costs, incentivizing private investment by lowering tax and social deductions, less bureaucracy, more innovation, and a more open market. Now, that is, of course, a list of reforms that has become a song that has been sung by German businesses for a while now. But the government is now under pressure to deliver because, of course, the economy has been struggling in recent years.
So is the German government managing to deliver on any of the reforms?
Well, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz did, of course, promise an autumn of reform, and perhaps we are beginning to see some of that. Now, this week, the ruling coalition of Conservatives and Social Democrats did manage to agree on 3 reforms, and one was the conversion of the so-called citizens' income into basic income support, but with more restrictions. And the hope is that the government can save money by spending less on welfare, by getting more people who can work back into the workforce. And the government also wants to encourage retirees to remain in the workforce by offering pensioners who choose to work a higher tax-free income. Also, on Thursday, the government did announce that it would spend 3 billion euros until 2029 to incentivize people to buy electric vehicles. So that, of course, should help the country's auto industry, which has been struggling to keep up with cheaper competition from China in the electric vehicle segment. So that is definitely a couple of reforms announced this week.
Chiponda Chimbelu, thank you. Sri Lanka's government announced a cabinet reshuffle, appointing new ministers to key portfolios as part of broader realignment aimed at strengthening administrative focus in several sectors. Anura Karunatilaka has been named Minister of Ports and Civil Aviation, while Sushil Ranasinghe takes charge as Minister of Housing, Construction and Water Supply. Bimal Ratnaikar, who previously oversaw the combined transport, highways, ports and civil aviation portfolio, will now serve as the Minister of Transport, Highways and Urban Development. A number of deputy ministerial appointments also accompanied the reshuffle, including Anil Jayanta Fernando as Deputy Minister of Finance and Planning. Other appointments covered sectors such as health, energy, mass media and youth affairs, marking a wider recalibration of responsibilities across the administration. In sports, India finished at 318 for 2 at the end of day 1 of the second test match against the West Indies at Arun Jaitley Stadium in New Delhi. Opener Yashasvi Jaiswal smashed his 7th test century in style as he remained unbeaten on 173 runs. The other young left-hander at the crease, Sai Sudarshan, also smashed a half-century as West Indies' attack failed to break through the defences of Indian batters. The only highlight of the day for West Indies came in the first session when KL Rahul fell short of his 50 after being deceived by Jumail Varikun's spin. India lead the 2-match series 1-0, will be eyeing a clean sweep against an out-of-form West Indies. Aryana Sabalenka extended her unbeaten run at the Wuhan Open to 20 matches with victory over Elena Rybakina on Friday. Sabalenka defeated Rybakina 6-3, 6-3 to keep her quest for a fourth straight title alive. Up next for the big-hitting Belarusian is American Pegula, who beat Czech Katerina Sinikova for her fifth match win of the season. Sabalenka has won 8 of her 10 meetings with Pegula, including the US Open final last year. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on Android and iOS. Scan this QR code on your screens and download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Shubhendu Ghosh from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.